Thank you so much for watching Riff TV. Now, this interview is obviously with video, but I don't interview everybody on Zoom. That's why I put it on my Talkin' Rock with Meltdown podcast. We talk to rock artists from all over the genre. So check out Talkin' Rock with Meltdown wherever you get your podcasts. And now to today's video interview. Well, this is a new experience. I've never used this studio before, so thank you guys so much for coming in.
We're glad to be part of the inaugural journey.
Yeah, this is cool. Now, I've never had a bands there. I've done a couple interviews in here, but it is a little bit unusual to do this, but I appreciate it. Scott Holiday and Jay Buchanan as well from the Rival Sons. Man, you guys are really pounding the pavement here, getting ready for the new record to drop, or I should say records.
Yeah, we've got 2 records coming out this year. First one's dropping June 2nd, and that's Darkfighter. Second album is going to be dropping sometime in the fall. We haven't determined exactly when yet. There are a lot of moving parts, to an album release. So
yeah, both are finished.
Yeah, they're both done.
Then we're going to release 2 more right after it: Darkbringer and Lightfighter. So tune in for those 2.
So, I mean, the obvious question is, you got your dark and you got your light, and these records are obviously connected in some sort of way, shape, or form. Is that right?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Jay, you can expand on that.
I think, throughout the pandemic, we started recording it in early 20, and we couldn't go anywhere. Obviously, we couldn't tour, just like everybody else. So I think that, there was so much going on a national level, international, personal level for everyone. All of the loss, the isolation, the cultural division, the political division, the politicalization of a virus, all of it, BLM, happening. And there was so much going on that there was a lot to write about. And I think that the isolation and the ideas, for much of Darkfighter, it was much more about keeping the darkness at bay. Because that was a hard time for those of us who had kids, that were isolated and stuck at home, having their entire social life and their education put on pause, and just all of that atrophy.
That's big too, because I have kids just like you do, and the kids, they still that's a big deal. Those kids are becoming our young adults, and there's a residual effect on them from this. Kids have dealt with anxiety and depression more than ever. Rates for that stuff is through the roof right now.
Right.
And that moment had a lot to do with it. You isolate their social activity and stuff, and everyone's already stuck on the phone. Everyone's already stuck in video game land. This just took it to a new level.
You have a real quick for that. As it is pre-pandemic, you have a culture that's sitting on a very, very small fulcrum, that could tip over into the harder points of social media as it's affecting children and all of us. And then so you pile on the pandemic and social media and your smartphone or your computer or your tablet, that ends up becoming a child's window to the outside world, and that's a very, very difficult thing to wrestle with.
Well, I was going to say, when we were kids growing up, I wonder if we could have dealt with the pandemic better because there wasn't all this social media and this outside interference.
Of course we would have. We were just a better generation. Come on.
That's right. That's not what I was saying. But I've asked this question about a lot of artists in the last year or so. This is your pandemic album or pandemic albums.
Yeah, and that's really it. What I was getting to there is Darkfighter was really about keeping the darkness at bay, keeping the wolf on the other side of the door, and not letting it come in, because there was such a heavy theme of self-preservation, and for me wanting to preserve myself, preserve the emotional health of my family, and the band, and Scott and I writing back and forth and sending files. I was living out in Tennessee for most of the pre-production on the record. So we're having to work remotely with each other, and he's going through his stuff at home. So with Darkfighter, it was really about fighting the darkness off. Whereas with Lightbringer, it's a little bit more about illuminating, as opposed to defending. It's more about illuminating, the light from within, and just letting that be the thing that illuminates your life.
When you started recording or started writing, did you have 2 albums in mind?
I think that we had thrown around the idea of making 2 separate records many times, but I think that for us, the main objective was just to get good content, just write music that was beyond what we had done before. That was the main thing, is to push the boundaries of who we were.
We had a song. We had a song that we worked on before the pandemic, before Feral Roots, as we were going into Feral Roots. That's called Darkfighter. That was kind of this, it's a big song. It's a big song musically, and a big song.
An epic type song?
It's an epic type song. So we had this song, and we had already worked on this song.
Is it an opus, Scott?
I don't throw these words
Is it
around.
A magnum?
Epic and opus. It's, it's a big song for us. It means a lot to us. We put
Certainly.
a lot of heart and
You're
work
talking about the
and
title track.
It's technically the title track. You're just gonna have to see what I mean.
Okay.
Oh, this has never been talked about. You're getting some fresh news.
Trying to
right
dig
now.
in a
Do we
little
just
bit.
say it right now?
Go ahead.
So, we haven't released any track listing, but we're just gonna say it one time here, and if everybody wants to follow the breadcrumbs, they can find out. But the title track, there is no Darkfighter on the album Darkfighter, but the next record, Lightbringer, will start with the title track.
Yeah,
Is that right?
It opens the record too, just so immediately.
And honestly, as we're doing this right now, I think I'm never going to talk about this again. So this is it right here.
Well, the decision to have that song start Lightbringer was to immediately give context to Darkfighter.
The connection, the bridge.
Exactly.
Hitch the trailer.
Yeah, it immediately puts it in frame and contextualizes it.
We old school like that. When like records like had weight and like took you places and like you wanted to listen to the record from the first note to the end. And that was a big intent too, when we decided to like break these up instead of making it one long 2-part kind of epic that came out together. It was like, it's hard when you're listening to a record for an hour plus. You start to lose context. You start to lose what's happening a lot with those kinds of records. It's rare that you want to sit through the wall, like nowadays.
Yeah, with the attention span thing.
Well, and very much like it's the subject matter that you hear the protagonist moving through in Darkfighter and Lightbringer. If you put those all together, it's just too much. It's like reading the entire Border trilogy of Cormac McCarthy all in one sitting. It's going to be too much for you. You're going to be, you're going to be emotionally.
And then it's
wrung
hard to
out.
appreciate any of it. It just gets kind of like
maybe lost.
It gets lost, man. Yeah. So these are much more digestible sides.
Moose bouche, if you will.
Yeah.
So let's talk about you just talked about it. You think this record will bring you guys to the next level?
I mean, what does that mean?
Well, all throughout your career, it's funny because I was thinking about this on the way in today. It's like I've seen you guys play different places, and you guys are playing this year at Sonic Temple. The last time I saw you guys play there was, 6-7 years ago. You're playing on a side stage, and now I'm thinking you'll be playing on a bigger stage, so it continues to go up and up.
So you're talking directly about butts and seats.
I'm just talking about just taking this band where you want to go musically to that next level.
Well,
definitely musically is one thing, like creatively.
Yeah.
Like definitely we're pushing as hard as we can, right? But is it going to put more people in a venue? I mean,
we're really not at. We don't know.
We hope so.
I don't know. I don't know what's
Listen,
going to happen. Everybody
here should know that we want to be doing Shea Stadium and arenas nightly and Madison Square Gardens. That would be lovely for us. Certainly we're writing music that we feel fits in those venues and those arenas, That would be fun. It's fun to gather that many people and all get on the same wavelength at one time and kind of lift a room and let them lift us up. That's fun. We want to do that. That's what we're aiming for, of course. But to think that one record or one song is going to do that, I don't know.
You always hear about that happening, so it's not that abstract to ask the question. I think that
should it? Yes.
Well, what happened? Yeah, what happens now? With this record, I think that the number one thing for us, we have an audience, we have a career, and we're thankful for our audience and for our career, but it lives and dies by how honest we can be about the art. It lives and dies by how much how authentic we're capable of being in that creation. So I do know for certain that was achieved with this record, that we made music that we needed to make. And so like whatever happens as a result of that, it's going to be a correct step because we did something for the right reason and we did it in the right way.
Yeah, there's no doubt you guys are artistically honest. No question about that. So
thank you.
I'll ask you first, Scott. What is it like to drop a brand new record? The new record comes out in June 2nd. What is it like to drop a record? I've never done it.
It's great. It's wonderful because, especially with the pandemic for us, this time specifically, we're sitting on our back catalog. Anytime we've had to go play, even we did a couple small tours based on a 10-year anniversary of Pressure and Time, which is digging back even further. And let me tell you, we played I don't want to say any expletives, but we played that record a lot. We toured nonstop. We never came off the road while Pressure and Time was out. And we've never come off the road this whole time, right up until the end of Feral Roots tour cycle. So we've been sitting on the back catalog. As artists, that is just not healthy. It's not healthy, man. Like, you need to move and create and make something new. And you know, just every person, non-artists, are changing every 5-6 years into like new people. We just know that. That's just how it is. So artists, certainly, even more than in 6 years, we will make a record and be tired of it before it comes out. You know what I mean? So putting a record out is finally us getting to share something that we've spent a lot of time, a lot of heart, and certainly we're making it to play for people. If we were just making it for me and Jay, it would sound a little bit different. I promise you that. It would be something totally different probably. But we know we're going to get to share this music, and we finally get to do it. And we have a wonderful team behind us that wants to pump it with management and the label. And we know we get to play it, and that's the most important thing. When we're in the studio, we make music because we get to play it live. So you're thinking, like, this is going to be fun to make happen live in a big room, you know?
Yeah, so there is a little bit an aspect where you guys are thinking about. I've asked bands about this before, but yeah, when you're writing a song, you're playing it like, this is going to go over great. I can already see this on stage.
Yeah, that happens sometimes. Absolutely. I don't think there's a problem with that. That's our medium. It's like we perform music. We're not Beatles on post-White Album where we just decide we're not going to perform live anymore. We're performing live. That's where the music comes alive. That's where it takes on a new life. And we've seen pretty much all of our material become something different and, frankly, more special once it's shared and we're, like, working it out. You know, a lot of these songs we did on the floor. We didn't play these songs. These weren't songs that we, like, nurtured and then put on record. They were songs that we, like, quickly kind of, like,
we wrote right there and
floor.
then just hit record.
Even the lyrics. Even thoughtful, like, super heady, heartfelt lyrics. Jay will just hear something we did. We'll kind of crystallize it for the moment, and he'll go pad and paper, boop, outside, and come back. This is what I got. And we'll put it down. So we're discovering what is really good about the song on the stage with you guys, you know?
So you Jay, what do you think? What's it like to drop a record?
I'd agree with pretty much everything Scott just said. You know, as a performing artist this way, and anyone who's out there who's in the game knows, whatever songs you write, those songs are going to become your, for all intents and purposes, like your life mantra for that next 2 years. And when I say life mantra, like, I got to get on stage and I have to sing and I have to put these words on my tongue in a new context every night to keep it fresh within myself and live within these lyrics. And the band is doing the same thing, just in a different way. But together we're creating this message and we're repeating it day after day. And we're putting it's from my tongue onto people's ears and on their tongues as well. And so I think that having a fresh blood transfusion, it equates to a new identity that you're able to wear and a new message that you're able to present, not just to the audience, but it's a new narrative that you allow yourself to live, you know? So you're living this new narrative and you're speaking this new mantra. And it's very, very important to have the opportunity to do that. So for me, when I look at what's coming up with these next two records, I think there is some subject matter that's maybe a little bit difficult because it was written in a time of crisis. But then there are other songs that are much more of a transcendent nature that I'm really looking forward to performing night after night. And you never know what's going to happen. You know, there are no guarantees. But I know that we made an album that Scott and I both identify with very deeply. And so whatever happens from there, like I said, it's going to be the right direction.
Now, I heard Scott, you were talking about this on the radio with Jay just a few minutes ago, but you're talking about the state of rock and roll. So maybe for the people that were out here that weren't in Detroit to hear it live on the air, where is the state of rock and roll right now, in your opinion?
It's very much in a back seat to popular music, and it's strange. It's maybe not in my back seat or your back seat or the listeners here, but in a popular world of music, I'm going to speak as I am rock and roll. We were at the top of the food chain. We were at the top of the pyramid. We were going to play all the Super Bowls. We were going to play all the arenas, and everything else didn't really do that. A pop act could not be really in an arena. It wasn't that good. Rock and roll fit in the arena, and rock and roll brought people. And tours that were successful weren't K-pop. Tours that were successful were like Monsters of Rock with like Van Halen and like the Scorpions and Metallica and stuff like this. This is what brought people and put butts in seats and bought T-shirts and bought albums and rebought albums because they played them so much they burnt out. That was the state of rock and roll. We're pretty young for that era. We were kids when that was happening, but certainly through my family and just being a young rock and roll Hessian, like some rock and roll kid as a young kid, I was connected to all of that. So I lived through it and watched it, and we watched grunge come in, and we watched, rock and roll slowly kind of back away from the door, and then the doors get kind of slammed on everybody like, whoa, it's nowhere. Has anybody in this room looked at the charts lately? It's a lot of like cymbals and like little somethings and like, whoa, this is a all Spanish song. This is the third most played song on Apple Music. No offense, but I'm just saying rock and roll is nowhere in sight. You go 3 pages down and there's no rock and roll. So people for years have told us that we're like, the guardians of the light for rock and roll, the saviors of rock and roll or whatever. We're not. We're a rock band doing what we do, like with our heart, as truthfully and honestly as we can. The people that are guarding the light are the people buying our records and listening to it, the people that still want to do rock and roll and are there,
It's kind of funny because it's like, as much as you're correct in a lot of what you say, it's almost kind of cool that we're in this world that, maybe not everyone, it's not their cup of tea, but it's our cup of tea.
Yeah.
And it's like we love what this music brings to us.
Yeah, there's an organic nature to rock and roll, like with what Scott was just saying. Moving out of grunge, moving through the late 90s, early 2000s, watching rock back away from the door, from the grown-ups table, the popular vernacular and that whole zeitgeist. Like, you also saw rock transform in various ways. You saw different acts come up that became part of the problem that I think that really diluted rock, and then you have other acts.
Can you name a few acts for us?
Oh, come on now, man. I don't need to do that. But you also saw other acts that were coming from a very genuine place, a place of invention, that propelled it forward and that kept a seat, at the table. And I think that the more it gets diluted and moves further away from source, I think that becomes a problem with identification. And I think that it teaches the listener at large to settle for less. But I can look, and there still are those acts that are popping up here and there that are really doing it in a very, very genuine way. And when you're not being sold something, when you're just being given someone's story and you identify with it. Whereas in other forms of rock music, you can feel the pitch. You can feel that you're being sold something.
Right. Yeah. It's funny you mentioned the Super Bowl and stuff because it's like they got all these pop acts playing the Super Bowl, but all the classic rock and the rock guys are doing the commercials.
Yeah. We had one. Well, we weren't in the Super Bowl commercial, but yeah.
You want a commercial for?
We have a commercial out right now. That's not our commercial. We just have a song in a commercial.
Which one is it? I don't know if I've heard that.
Silverado
Yeah.
by Chevy.
Oh, really?
They pay me every time I say that.
Nice. Right here, you're in Chevy's backyard, right?
Yeah,
That's right.
exactly.
Yeah. Well, the new record comes out on June 2nd. Lightbringer comes out in the fall. And I heard you guys mention, we don't want to talk too much about it, but there's something that's going to be dropping coming up here pretty soon, you guys said, huh?
Yeah, we've got dates to announce and what our plans are for touring and, abroad and domestically.
Do you guys have more festival dates besides Sonic Temple? You guys on the other ones, too? Danny remember stuff?
Yeah, there's some more U.S. Dates, and there's some European festival dates. We have stuff. I don't know what we're allowed to talk about.
Okay, well, it's no problem. You guys got some. You got your year is filled up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we are filled up, and I think we've just started this week to book for right into the new year.
Yeah, into 24.
So, yeah.
The dance card is full.
Yeah, we will be here.
Well, I'll tell you what, can't wait to hear the record. I was listening to Feral Roots all week. That record is so good, so I can hardly wait for the new one here, Darkfighter. It'll be on my turntable, like I listen to all my records.
We're going to make sure and get you an early copy, man.
All right, I appreciate that. Yeah, I can't wait to check it out for sure. Of course, Nobody Wants to Die is out. Rapture, you guys just played. By the way, Nobody Wants to Die, that's a real slammer, but you guys just played the acoustic version. And, man, is it like it kind of breathes a different life into it.
Mm. Yeah, I think that the first time we played it for the first time, day before yesterday, ever. Acoustically.
Yeah.
And Jay was sick, so we didn't. Before that, Jay had been a little under the weather, so we were letting his voice rest. So we didn't rehearse. So he didn't sing.
No, we just got in there and started playing.
So we just kind of like tackled it. So this was like the second time we've done it.
But I was saying, as soon as we played it acoustically, it's like I think I like it even better acoustically because of the story.
The
story that is you're able to tell in a different way.
Yeah, I don't want to say I like it better, but I mean, it did. It's just sounded. There's something about it. I can't even put my finger on it. But I was like, you ever hear a song like you hear over and over and over again? Then you see it live in concert, and it just kind of clicks. You know, that's kind of how it felt.
Jay has an innate ability to turn any kind of rock song into like an Appalachian mountain song. So,
all right, not that.
I'll take that. I'll take that.
All right, Jay and Scott from the Rival Sons. Thank you guys so much for christening our brand new studio here. We need a wine or something.
Thanks,
Champagne.
Meltdown. Thanks, Bob. Thank you.
I appreciate you guys. Thanks.
see you, man.